Hey everyone, my name is Theme Park Evangelist. So, this is going to sound really interesting to you guys. Um, I am going to be. I'm filming this vlog yesterday or last night on Tuesday, October 1st, 2024, but I'm publishing this evening on Wednesday, October 2nd, 2024. The reason for that is because I got a lot going on today. Now, technically, I did get out of work at 4 o'clock, but I also worked in the laundry room today, and I also know I had to come home and take a shower and get ready for community group. So, with that being said, I figured it was a lot easier for me to go ahead and film this in advance when I had a little bit more energy, just by knowing I have to get up. And at 6:30 in the morning this morning, I decided, well, let's just go ahead and film this the night before and just have it published this evening. That way, it's over and done with. Sometimes I do use those features. I know a lot of editing features that I didn't even know about when I first started YouTubing 8 years ago. So I'm originally from Central Florida. Actually, the YouTube topic I'm going to be talking about today with you guys, as you see in the title, is going to be called "Why Did God Choose Katie to be my future wife?" Or, I think I originally had chosen "Why did God choose? Why is Katie the right one for me, according to God?" So either one will work, but I think the first one I just came up with just now, and that one to me sounds a little bit better. And even though there are worldly people out there that I'm friends with that will not agree with that statement whatsoever, I still think you should listen to this, whether you agree or not. And you don't have to agree even after you hear it or watch it, because there are people out there like TJ, K, and Venita who refuse to see Katie as anything but a nuisance in my life and should be eliminated from my life altogether, and I should go back to living in Florida where my life can be controlled by them for the rest of my life. And that's all there is to it. But it is what it is. So, in the meantime, I wanted to talk to you guys about just some upcoming vlogs. So, if you guys did not watch yesterday afternoon's vlog, which was about my college days, I had mentioned that I was going to be vlogging Halloween Haunt on Saturday night. So, even though I'm off on Friday, I'm planning on spending the day with my roommate for a change and getting to know him, getting to know his best friend Shelly, and just doing whatever they want to do together. So that's why I'm not going to be vlogging on Friday. And then that evening, I might be doing a YouTube short. So we'll see what happens. The plan is to do a YouTube short at a brand new gluten-free fast food chicken joint called Galactic Chicken. So there is still a possibility I might do a YouTube short. So we'll see what happens. And then the next day I go in at 8 o'clock in the morning, get off at 4, and then I'm going to be going straight from there back up to Florence, and then eventually going up to Kings Island for my first Halloween haunt this year. Finally. And I do mean finally. So, it took long enough, but it's going to happen. And then the next day, I am going to be leaving for Falmouth, Kentucky, earlier than expected because not only am I going to my very first Kentucky Wool Festival, but unfortunately I have a funeral slash visitation to attend. So the visitation is Sunday evening, the funeral's on Monday morning. I'm very sad about it, but this is a good friend of Katie and I's, and I'm definitely wanting to make sure I could go. And since it's a local, I'm definitely going to go. Also, another good friend of mine recently also passed away on a Saturday back on September 15th, but unfortunately she was back in Lake Wales, Florida, and there was no way for me to get down there. I just didn't have the money, and I've been saving what money I do have for my wedding next year. So, anyhow, that being said, let's go ahead and get into tonight's topic, or in your case, since you're going to be watching this, or since you're watching this on Tuesday, October 2nd, sorry, Wednesday, October 2nd at 5 o'clock in the evening, this evening or today's topic. So we're going to be discussing why Katie is meant to be my future wife according to God. So when I first started dating back in 2014, I had first met this young lady, and sometimes by the way, I apologize. Sometimes I have a tendency to go whack. I don't mean to do that. That's just me fidgeting around over here, and sometimes I just like, oops. So anyway, back when I first started college back in 2014, early 2014, so we're talking January, I first started doing the whole online dating thing, and I came across this young lady named Sade. So she's married now. I just recently checked all my blocked people. And ironically, at the time, her last name was Blocker, which I thought was hilarious. And I blocked a blocker. I'm sorry, I had to. But anyway, I'm talking to her online. She finds me in the at the Winter Haven campus of Polk State College. By the way, watch my college days YouTube series next week if you want to know more about the two different campuses that I attend, because I'm going to be talking about that next week, next Wednesday specifically, and she acts like really sweet and nice, and starts saying, don't be scared. She came across as like really gentle, and I was like, okay. And I felt like the relationship moved a little too quickly. She came to visit me at work. I am very sure I even came to visit her at work, and she had asked if she could be there for my dad's birthday one year, or that same exact year. I was like, this is really awkward. I should have known there was something going on there. So, first, let me start with this. Why did I think she was the right one? Let's just start with that. Because she was nice, she was acting nice, she was acting sweet. Little did I realize she was doing that because there was something, she was interested in me. She wanted to know what she could get out of me. I ended up telling her a very dark secret about me that I did not want her to know too soon. I shouldn't have told her too soon. And that's why I waited so long to tell even Katie. And this young lady was the reason. So I told her within like a couple of weeks that my dad is a active or current Disney cast member, and he can get himself and 3 people in for free. Now he's retired, so it doesn't really matter now, because I can just tell everybody, sorry, my dad's retired, and they don't need to know anything else than that. And only I know what my dad can and cannot do, and I'm not going to go around and tell anybody that. But yes, my dad did work for Disney for 30 years, and he is retired. He retired about 5 years ago. 5.5 years ago, and that's all you need to know. And this young lady was like, oh, I could, you take advantage of this guy. And, I'm thinking to myself, well, maybe this is the right one. Maybe this is my future wife, blah, blah, blah. I shouldn't have even been thinking about that 10 years ago. I was, at the time, 20 years old. I probably could have been thinking about it, but it wasn't, it was time to settle down, but getting married, no. That's kind of where I was at the time. I wasn't necessarily ready to get married, but get settled down. So I felt like I was rushing ahead of myself. And the first red flag was obviously that she was being a little too nice to me. The second biggest red flag was when she started telling me that she wanted to have my dad and I show up at Disney at Magic Kingdom the very next day while I was on my spring break, while we were on our spring break technically, and then I could do, and after we got these people in, that we were free to go. And I found that very suspicious. I was like, something doesn't seem right. And then the third biggest red flag was when she mentioned that she had a boyfriend that was working for Disney World. And that's when I knew that I was being toyed with. So why was this girl not my future wife? If you guys are smart, you can answer that one. I'm not even going to bother answering that one. I just need 3 big red flags. I'm going to go over them one more time, though, for you guys. The first biggest red flag was the fact that she was being very nice to me. And she was trying to, and as a bonus, she was trying to move up into a serious relationship with me within a month, if that says anything. It seems awfully dark in here. Let's turn on the light. Okay, that's a lot better. So the second biggest red flag, once again, was the fact that she wanted my dad and I to meet her and her friends at Magic Kingdom and then get these people in, and then we could be on our way. And then the third biggest red flag was the fact that she mentioned she already had a boyfriend that worked for Disney. Now, if you haven't figured out why that girl was not meant to be my girlfriend by now, I have no hope for you. So then I moved on to the next girl. I don't know what I was kicking there, but okay. And, this girl was also online, and she was a Southeastern University student. I just want you guys to know, I have no problem with Southeastern University down in Florida whatsoever. I had a problem with this girl. I still love SEU. That's the short name for the acronym. But I did have a problem with this girl big time. Actually, SEU still has a choir that joins Winter Jam every year, and they were even at Winter Jam this year here in Kentucky, even for that matter. So yes, if you didn't know, I actually live in Dry Ridge, Kentucky, which is about 25 miles south of where I was living. So I was living in northern Kentucky, now I live in real Kentucky. So I live about 1 hour north of the Kentucky Horse Park. That says anything. 1 hour north of Lexington. So, yeah, fun stuff. But, anyway. And, this girl seemed and good enough online, and I went above and beyond for her. I asked my mom if I could borrow her car, and I had paid full price for these Night of Joy tickets back when Disney was doing Night of Joy, and I drove all the way out there, and I picked this girl up. And she was not at all what I was expecting. I was like, oh. I was like, okay, then. So I got a chance to see the campus, and we talked a little bit. I mean, she seemed like a good acquaintance. If I had done something a little bit more local, like in Lakeland, such as go out for dinner or something, the I probably could have progressed further with her, but I think I jumped the gun on her, like big time. I think the only reason why she even accepted my offer is because she felt like she was getting free tickets to Disney, and then I turned around and all I want to do is go to concerts, and she probably felt like the date did not go well at all, and that's why she ended up blocking me altogether because she felt like it could have been a better date, but it wasn't the greatest. Like she probably was like, "Oh well, at least I got into Disney for free. That's all I care about." So there's $100 I never got back, unfortunately, or 75 or whatever. But it's here or there. I should have just gone by myself, honestly. But you live and you learn, and that's something I've been learning through life. And I drove her all the way out there. I had a great time at not Winter Jam, at Night of Joy, despite her being there. And when we got done, I drove her all the way back, and I was expecting at least a hug or a kiss, and all I got was bye, thanks bye, thanks for the fun. And then she shut the door and walked off, and I never saw her again. I was like, okay, and I drove home and went to bed, and that was about it. Who knows what she was thinking on her way out? I pretty much guessed it. So 3 red flags there. First of all, she wasn't what I thought she was. She probably used an older picture from on her dating profile, and she didn't keep it up to date. Probably tried to attract more men. Secondly, she didn't really communicate with me all that much. She stayed quiet instead of trying to communicate with me about what we could do and what we couldn't do. I kept waiting for her to talk to me. I've always been a very good communicator my whole life, and she wasn't communicating with me. And then third and finally, she gave me a very weak thank you for a $100 ticket, give or take. So why was she not marriage material? And then as a bonus, I never heard from her again. Like literally after that night, that was it. I never heard from her again. So if you did not figure it out, I have no hope for you either. I mean, I could go on, but we're going to talk about one more here. And her name is Brandy. So jumping ahead about 5 years, by this point I moved to Kentucky, and I was back on the same dating app, and this time I came across a girl named Brandy, and I'm talking to her, and I agreed to meet her, so I drove all the way out to her area, and I met her at a local restaurant, a good 10 miles from her, and she thankfully drove, so that was a good thing. I didn't have to go pick her up. She reminded me a lot of my Aunt Jane. I was like really happy about this. I was like, oh cool, this girl seems very similar to my Aunt Jane. It's gonna be just like marrying my aunt here. That's kind of weird and creepy, but cool at the same time. And I go out for lunch with her, and we had a really good time. And I'll tell you guys right now, she was head over heels in crush with me. Not love, in crush with me. There's a difference here. Crush means that you don't really know what you're feeling. It's kind of an infatuation, but I actually believed it. She had very religious parents, but they really, really weren't sure, like, what was considered appropriate and what was considered not appropriate, and she kind of felt the same way. And it really just took her parents kind of being there to guide her on the right path, but because she was so much at war with herself, she really didn't know what was right and what wasn't. So I don't know if I'm making a lot of sense here, but I'm trying. So anyway, eventually I got to meet her family. Her family was very big, and I did spend a couple of weekends out there with her. Her parents were very nice. They were very good cooks. Um, it was a little awkward sleeping over there. I'm not gonna lie, but I didn't mind. I had every intention on having church over there at one point. I really did try hard for her. And I found she was very outdoorsy. I celebrated the 4th of July with her 4 years ago, and it wasn't bad. I really enjoyed it. I had a great time, and I'm being honest about that. It was one of the better 4th of Julys I've had in my lifetime. And I really loved how much they enjoyed the outdoors. I really loved just laying out there on the grass with her and just stargazing. I really enjoyed swimming. Um, Once again, I'll tell you guys right now, she was allowing her infatuation of me to um, override her parents' teachings, and she was allowing me to do things that weren't necessarily appropriate, and she knew that, but I think she did care, but she didn't care. And I think there were times when she was doing things in front of her siblings and she didn't realize it wasn't okay. And then, for the most part, as long as her mom got onto her, she was usually pretty good about getting herself back on track again. And then, once she got away from her siblings and her parents, I noticed that she was really struggling once again with controlling herself, and she was allowing her hormones to get the best of her, and she wanted to do certain things. And let's just put it this way, I wouldn't still be a virgin right now if I had ended up with her, like I had ended up staying in a relationship with her. We probably would have had a rushed marriage, and I probably would have already lost my virginity before I even turned 30. I mean, for most people, they're like, what's taking you so long, dude? I mean, you should have lost your virginity 15 years ago, if that. And I'm just like, well, everybody, has a different pace. I'm just choosing to do it the biblical way, and I'm choosing to take my time about it. But anyway, so I'm just going to go over her 3 red flags, because our relationship did last at least 2 months. And I'll tell you guys right now, why did we not stay together? And that's going to be where that's going to be part of the red flags. So the first straw was my dad basically forced me to pick up my mom from work and wouldn't let her walk home, and that I would be dead meat if I didn't pick her up. And she felt like my parents were trying to control me, and she wanted to be able to do what she wanted to do without parental influence. And it seemed like she was even having parental issues with her own parents, so I wasn't surprised when she was having issues with my parents. So I came up with a plan B that she couldn't stand because she's an outdoorsy girl. And then the final straw was the fact that the second straw was the fact that I took her somewhere she didn't like. Just to back it up a little bit. But the final straw was when I accidentally walked away from her, not even 2 weeks later or something like that. It was a week or two later at my old community group that unfortunately ended about a year ago. And no, 2 years ago. I take that back. And unfortunately, when I walked away from her, it brought back a bad memory, and she took it the wrong way. She messaged me while I was at work the next day and broke up with me, and she also had the audacity to say I was too autistic for her. that will always haunt my memory to this day. I even left her alone for a year, messaged her back, told her I forgave her and I'm still willing to give her another chance, and she blocked me. I was like, whatever. And this was before Katie even came into my life. And by this point, I was working at AIG. And I still gave her another chance. So then I decided, well, maybe she isn't the right one. So, what were the three red flags? So, the number one was she didn't know how or what she wanted. She was constantly indecisive. That was the number one red flag I saw in her. The number two red flag that I saw was the fact that she didn't respect parental authority whatsoever. I understand she was probably about, I don't know. I don't even remember how old she was at the time. Probably a couple of years older than I am currently. I understand that, you get to a certain age where you don't have any respect for parents, but yeah, at the end of the day, if you say you're a Christian, you have to obey and respect the Bible, because that is the book that all Christians live by. By rights, all people should respect that commandment that says, honor your father and your mother. That means honor, respect your parents. That doesn't mean you have to obey them. It just means respect them. That means your parents and your, and for me, that means my father and mother-in-law too. My future father and mother-in-law. And then the final red flag that I saw was the fact that she wouldn't forget about her ex. Because that was the number one thing she messaged me about in her. That was another reason why she broke up with me. She brought up her ex. And she compared me to her ex. If you can't forget about your ex, then you don't even need to be dating. Now, Katie did mention her ex a couple of times to me while we were dating, but it wasn't for the reason you guys think it was. If you are comparing someone to their ex, this is then that person no longer needs to be in your life. And I mean not in a good way, but in a bad way, then, you need to be done. But in Katie's case, I allowed it because Katie was grieving over somebody she was contemplating marrying, but God took him away from her. And yes, I was getting concerned there for a little while, so I have been helping Katie forget about him, and Katie has gotten a lot better about letting go. Because I'm not gonna lie, I did get concerned there, and I did speak to Katie about it, and I said, we can't keep talking about Jason because Jason's gone now. So that finally brings me to the final point. Why is Katie the one that God wants to be my future wife? The whole reason why you guys have been watching this in the first place. Well, I'm going to start with number one. And that is, I didn't look for her. I'll be honest with you guys, I never looked for Katie once. God just randomly placed her into my life at the most random moment. I was working at the Ark Encounter, not even 12 minutes from here. And I'm not even joking. 5 months after I started there, a young lady moved there from North Carolina to Williamstown, Kentucky. Not even 10 minutes from here, give or take. And she was originally from Eastern North Carolina, and she just recently became a Kentuckian. And I immediately recognized her as a new person, and she was part of guest services and missions, and there was something about her that I liked, and I immediately saw her out. So that was number one. Number two was she did not like me at first. For me, I find that a challenge. I like a girl who pretends not to like me at first. And every single girl I ever dated usually was really good about saying, "Oh yeah, I'll date you at least one time." But Katie gave me a challenge. She actually forced me to pursue her. Number three, Katie came across as different, and I like different. She wasn't your normal girl. Um, I kind of discovered that when I was working one night at the Zara's. It was the one night I actually got off at 7 o'clock. I had to work late the entire week, and you guys know or should know I've been passionate about my YouTube channel for 8 years now. And I'll tell you guys right now, if I were to go back in time and tell my younger self not to bother leaving early, it could mess up the space-time continuum, meaning that there's a chance I may not have been as interested in Katie. But it was because of this night that I became even more interested in Katie. Because I ended up finding out from her that she and I had the same friend. She and I both loved Christmas lights. It was because of this that Katie and I even both loved going to Christmas time together at the Ark. And it was because of this night that Katie and I even went back not even a couple of years ago, if not the past year, and did it all over again. So could you imagine if I had gone back in time and messed that up, then certain events would never have taken place. Pretty crazy, right? So anyway, I decided to grab some free food on my way to Vimzara's because they just did the 5 minutes. It was something that they did for the culinary staff. I'm not going to go into it, but all you need to know is it involves free food. I don't want to say too much about EIG because they'll have me fired, and I don't want that. So I get my free food, and I had intentionally brought a change of clothes. That's just how persistent I was about going and vlogging that night. And they were actually cool about it. They were like, yeah, that's fine. And I was like, thank the Lord. So I drove my car over to the guest parking lot because I didn't know I could just hang out in the park back then. I honestly would never have guessed. Apparently, Katie was off that day. And I walked over, and Bill, the bus driver, pulled up, and he doesn't work there anymore, unfortunately. And Katie was there, and I was like, "It's Katie, no way!" And it was one of those like wow moments, like this is unreal, this isn't happening. And she and I get on the bus together, and she sits closer to Bill, and she turns her body towards him, and I got embarrassed myself a little bit, so I was doing this number the entire time at her. And then finally, when she did turn towards me, I was like, I didn't do anything. What are you talking? That moment. But I'm not going to lie, I did find it, a little unusual at the time. She was wearing solid red, other than her black sneakers. And I was just like, that is so weird. I've never seen a girl do that before. But yet she had so many friends. I've seen a girl wear solid blue, solid green, but solid red, like, that's weird. And then when I did ask her for her phone number, not even a couple of weeks later, I've never seen a girl freak out so much before. Her eyes got so wide. She was like, and she said something about having to ask her parents for permission, or something like, I only give out my phone number to people for emergencies, and she just ran off. And I was like, okay. And then, next April, I'm working on deck one. I'm the very first deck one greeter ever for guest services. I was their guinea pig. And that's when I finally noticed that Katie was starting to become interested in me. And it was all probably because of the fact that she heard all winter long, I was asking, what is Katie back? What is Katie coming back? What is Katie coming back? Because I knew she always went home during the winter. She did it the winter before that. She did it that winter again. Actually, I take that back. She had went home all winter, and I asked, where did she go? Oh, she went home back to Eastern North Carolina. Like, oh, okay, well, that makes sense. But I didn't know she was going to be gone for like 3 months. I was like, that's insane. So, to speed things up, come June, I went with her to Newport Aquarium, all because I invited her to my brother's birthday without telling him first. And she asked me to become her boyfriend. This is something I've been waiting a long time for. We're talking months. I was overjoyed. So, like, what am I trying to say here? Basically, that my next point is that all leads to Katie was, different, but I guess that could also lead into Katie was somebody I was looking for. That would be point number 4. And then let's go ahead and go into point number 5 now that you guys have heard my story. And that is, Katie seemed very similar to me, but I couldn't quite put my finger on it. And I ended up figuring out how. Once I started dating her, I started getting to know her, and it became very evident to me that she and I were a lot more alike than I even realized, and I had no idea. I was like, how are we so similar? Like, what is drawing me towards her? And I didn't realize how similar we were until I started dating her, and I'm like, oh. Number 6 is the fact that she's so patient with me. I'll tell you guys right now, I can get on her nerves a lot, but she still is patient with me. But hear me out for number 7, 8, 9, and 10. This is when it gets a lot more serious. Number 7. Over the past 2.5 years that we've been together, she has seen over and over again every reason to dump me, move on, find a better man. I'm being serious here. There are far better men than me for her out there. And I'm not just saying that for the sake of saying it. I'm not just saying that because I'm being hard on myself. I'm not saying that because I hate myself or whatever. I am saying that because Katie deserves better. I mean, Katie heard with her own ears down in Florida how I was treated for 8 days straight last July. She heard my friends being so hard on me, my so-called friends, TJ, K, and Venita. Not really K, but at least TJ and Venita. Yeah, for sure. She heard them give me attitude about some of the dumbest mistakes I've ever made. But yet, I come back, and Katie loved me more than ever. And I was like, why? And she said, because I'm not going to let your friends determine what I think about you and whatnot. And I was like, oh. I couldn't believe it. Number 8, Katie was willing to do whatever it took to keep me around. Even if that meant preventing me from making the worst decision of my life. and that involves something along the lines of depression. And I'm not going to go into it, but but let's just say, um, if you get too depressed, you do something that you cannot exactly come back from. You end up being, you can either be put into a insane asylum, or one of those like special places where they watch you 24/7, or B, if you do it in private, it would basically put Katie into a position where she would have two men gone from her life, and she would end up moving back to North Carolina to have her parents there to take care of her, and she would end up going back to being overweight again. So let's just put it that way. And Katie literally begged and pleaded with me to straighten my life back out, no matter how depressed I got. Number 9 is the fact that Katie Katie literally will make sure that I will get home from work no matter how late it is. She doesn't care if I'm getting home after 11 o'clock at night. She will stay up no matter how tired she is, no matter how sick she is, just to make sure I'm home. She doesn't care how badly TJ wants to talk to me. She doesn't care if TJ is, awake at that time and will intentionally wait till I'm done work to talk to me because he thinks that he's better than me or better than Katie. She will stay up just to make sure I'm home safe because she cares. And then finally, number 10 is the fact that Katie will help me financially. And I'll turn around and I'll help her financially. And I don't mean sending her money or her and me sending her money. I mean, like, I lend her my car, she lends me her car. She'll pay for my haircut appointment. Like today, she was going to end up being free anyway. Sometimes I pay for her meals, and then she pays for mine. There was one night at Walmart, I was having issues with my Walmart pay, and Katie lent me $60, and I paid for my groceries right then and there. So I said, "Tell you what, use the credit card for $60 for whatever you want, just to make it up to her." Sometimes I'll tell her, if you don't mind helping me with this, I'll pay for your gas. We always find ways to help each other, whatever it takes. Now, this has been one of my longer vlogs, but if you hung on this long, those are 10 good reasons why Katie is meant to be my future wife. Every single woman I was with before her, I'm very sure that they just liked me or had a crush on me, but Katie, I can tell without a shadow of a doubt, loves me for who I am. I mean, we constantly make sacrifices for each other. And, I understand, like, Venita, for example, would rather I delay getting married to Katie because she would rather I end up with somebody else, anybody else but Katie, because there are certain aspects about Katie she despises. But you know what? I made this very clear to Katie, and we're always gonna have people that can't stand us. That's it. And I told Venita that credit card debt ain't gonna go away, just because I'm gonna pay it off. It's gonna come right back. Oh, you don't. It won't come off, or it won't come back if you don't use it. Well, I hate to break this to you, but I still gonna have to use credit card, even if you don't want me to. It's not your decision. And the thing is, Katie and I are never going to be 100% ready financially for this wedding. But are we ready Spiritually, that's the real question. But are we ready mentally? Yes, we are. Because we know for sure we're going to struggle, but we have each other. And to me, that's all that matters. And that's how I'm trying to see things. So as I hit the 45-minute mark and as my Chromebook battery is getting low, I just want to say thank you for hanging on. And to me, finding your future wife is not about is the sex going to be good? Is she going to let me do whatever I want whenever I want? It's not about is she going to freaking please me just because I demand it? It's all about, is she going to keep God number one in your life and in your lives? Is she going to do whatever it takes to keep the marriage strong? And is she going to help you with this marriage, whatever it takes? I will see you guys on Saturday night at Halloween Haunt, if not before. And always remember, you can do all things through Christ strengthens you. Have a great night. Peace out. And if you didn't hear it earlier, I promise this Saturday night's Halloween Haunt vlog will be the best one yet.